Or maybe, good evening, everyone, and do what the will shall be the whole of the law. Welcome to the end of the year live stream. This time on even more channels than the usual. I think if I didn't do something terrible, we are now live also on Instagram. So, hello, Instagram people, which is great because Instagram is, for one reason or another, my biggest platform. I guess I should be honest with you all. I guess you noticed that I'm really not doing much social media anymore, but in general, so Instagram is my biggest platform. So it's great that I'm able to finally do these live streams over there. Hello to everybody who is in the chat here on YouTube and everybody who's watching on Instagram. There's several of you over there. I can see now with all my details and data analytics in front of me, which sounds incredibly interesting, right? It's not. So, how's everybody doing? Yeah, I figured that it was nice to do like end of the year live stream just to have a little bit of a chat and um, give you some perspectives that I have on what might come up next. Right. So before we do that, I would like to remind you all the format of these little things I do. Right. So this is really me rambling. But if you have any questions related to magic or Thelema, I would like to answer some of them tonight. So if you have something, just pop them in the chat. If you can do it in the chat, if you want to do this, please do it in the chat on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, X, whatever that's called right now. I don't think I can answer anything on Instagram yet, but that's the idea, right? You drop your questions, maybe put like question before and put it down so I'll be able to see it more easily. And then I'll try to answer some of them. So to keep it a little bit more less rambly and more magically focused. Can I say that? Magically focused? Maybe. That's it. So again, any questions you might have, maybe you want to start thinking about them. As usual, if you want to support anything I do, or you can do it on YouTube, via memberships, super chats, super stickers, the thanks button, or you can subscribe to Magic Without Tears, which is my website, where I do all my things, which is magic@marcovisconti.org. I think that's a good place to start because, before delving into the very clickbaity title of this live stream, which is the 2024 predictions, I'd like to say, to address, one of the questions that I've been receiving a lot recently. Somebody was really asking me about like when I'm going to do more Thelemic content on social media. The answer is never. I really don't think that social media. I'm going to be very honest with you, and so let's restart. Social media isn't paying me to do to do anything, right? So while there's been this ongoing narrative over the last few years that you have to have a social media presence, you need to be tied to these to these platforms in order to promote yourself. The reality is that, and we will touch it later, of course. The reality is that the reach is just going down drastically, especially if you do things like I do. If you speak about magic, you speak about Thelema, things that are not easily monetizable, and so basically they for those who cannot, advertisers cannot really advertise on Thelema and Aleister Crowley for many reasons. You can imagine why. So in turn, my videos are not served by the algorithm, etc., etc., etc. Also, to be fair, I haven't really been investing much over the previous years into social media. Maybe that was my fault, right? But somebody was asking me, so why are you always rambling and ranting online and nothing else? Well, because I do speak about magic a lot, but I do that through my paywall courses, right? Like if you're interested in what I do, I'm going to put up courses and I'm going to talk about specific topics, and you can join them, and you can hear me talking about magic as much as you want, right? On that note, I would like to thank Carlotta for being a new YouTube member, and also thank you. thank you, Jonathan, for the super thanks. Thank you very much. This is great. This supports me, so thank you very much. So okay, I already been rambling, but then again, if you've been following any of my live stream, you know that's what I do. I ramble. Famously, the live streams that I used to do during the lockdown years were called the Ramblenomicon for that reason. You know, like Necronomicon, Ramblenomicon. Okay, so what we're going to happen, and we're going to discuss a little bit when we're coming up next in 2024. First of all, what I'm going to do next, right? I'm going to start right away. If you don't know it, Stairway to Heaven with Peter Levenda, it's coming up next. That's going to be my next big thing. We're going to discuss a lot of things that are even difficult to put them into words right now. Me and Peter will be doing a little bit of more promotion, free promotion, I should say that, in the coming month in January. So you'll be able to follow that if you're interested to join the course. I should say the course is already half sold out, and so like if you're interested in it, if you're interested to listen to Peter Levenda teaching publicly for the first time in 40 years, which it's quite the event. This is your time. Already half tickets gone, and we're gonna cap this, right, because it's going to be, we want to be sure that we're gonna have enough personal resources to take care, to discuss with anyone who's going to be attending the course. I should also say that the early bird window is already over, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, it's not like I didn't promote it before, right? So anyway, if you're curious about that, you can go on marcovisconti.org and that /ascent. Thank you, Jessica, for putting that in the chat, and you will find all the information about that. What coming up next? Again, I should mention it. I have already spoke about it at length. My retreat in the south of France in September 2024. First week already sold out. Second week we're feeling it slowly but surely, but we're feeling it. And I say slowly but surely because we're really making sure to find the right people, like we did for the first week. Our aim was to do 1 week, so everything we do on top is great. But we also want to make sure that we're gonna have the best people available. And by best people, I mean the ones that can work as a team for a week, and we can work with them for a week together, right? So again, if you're curious about this, it's on my website. Everything is on my website. If you go marcovisconti.org, you'll find everything. I should say that I'm gonna put like links below. I always forget to do that because at the end of the day, everything you want to know about my courses, my classes, whatnot, it's all on my website, which is marcovisconti.org. Couple more things coming up next. These are new. I'm going back to the College of Psychic Studies. Look at my face over there. It's a bit like coming up to get you. The first one is this is both happening in February, and the first one, Decoding the Pentagram Rituals, is going to be my first in-person class at the my first in-person class at the College of Psychic Studies here in London. If you've never been to the College of Psychic Studies, is an amazing, beautiful townhouse in Kensington with an incredible story behind it. It really is like, if we ever had like a Hogwarts, that would be it. And I will be doing this class, on the pentagrams rituals, which some of you might think, oh, again, the pentagrams. Well, you got to start with it. That is the Swiss Army knife of Thelema and of ceremonial magic. And the College of Psychic Studies is great because it's really open to a vast variety of audiences, from ultra beginners to more advanced. So I'm going to start with beginner stuff. Let's put it like this. And it's also be good to do finally things in person, right? This will be a theme we'll be touching on later. But I think that, the shift from strictly online to in person, it's something that is definitely going to hit us hard in 2024. And that's I'm just gonna go on with the plan. Now, this is in person, so if you're not in London, it might be tricky to join, even if, it could be a great excuse to make a trip to London, which is always a beautiful place to visit. But if you want to, if you cannot join, or if you're not interested in the pentagrams, well, I'm also going to do something completely new. And this is going to be an online class that's going to last 3 hours. It's going to be quite long, on what I call the alchemical mandalas. So the idea of using the alchemical figures from the Mutus Liber, from the Atalanta fusions, and other alchemical tracks as mandalas, and to use them, to explore them via path workings, to make sense about what alchemy really is, okay, and how these ideas of alchemy developed over the centuries. So again, if you're curious about both offerings, please go on the College of Psychic Studies website and you can join us there. Okay, so this is it. I'm gonna have a little drink. This is Amaro Averna. This is after all, like it is after the festivities. We have a lot to to digest, and this is the best thing to do it. I'll be very Italian about that. So, is it time to go on to the main meat of the night? I think it is. So, this was like the very clickbaity title that I put together for this live stream on YouTube. I gotta tell you, clickbait works. There's no way we can run around that. Oh, by the way, thank you, Grey Note. Thank you for the super chat. This is a super sticker. Thank you very much. As you can see, I don't understand how this works. I will never do fully understand it, but thank you so much for that. 2024 predictions. You might, if you click on this, you might thinking that I was going into, I don't know, astrological predictions, tarotological predictions, magical predictions. It's not going to be any of that. I'm going to give you my ideas on how what we call a culture is going to change in the next year. As you know, if you follow me, I guess you know that I tend to write a lot about trends in a culture. How people perceive maybe societal changes or politics, which is a big topic for me, as you know, and in general, how the perspective of these things inform also what we call culture. I do think, having observed things around for a while, that we're going to have some big shifts coming up next year. So if you just became aware of the occult world, the various communities that make the occult world, and if you've been involved in any way in online culture in the last maybe 5 years, and you've never been exposed to it before, you should maybe be bracing for impact, because I think there is going to be some quite drastic changes. And the first one, and as you can see, is like I subtitle it: "Less find the others and more find yourself." What does it mean? It seems to me that one of the keys that of this current magical revival that we've been enjoying or enduring, since for the last 5 years, was always based on the idea that we were finally able to use the internet at a level that really allowed for all boundaries to be taken down. Like, we could all come together as an online community, all interested in the occult. Okay, this has definitely been helped also by the fact that a lot of these ideas really crossed into mainstream heavily in the last 5 years. I would say the last decade, but they definitely in the last 5 years, right? For instance, all the paranormal shows, the ghost hunting shows that became so present everywhere, really. They really helped into bridging through these ideas, these paranormal ideas, these occult ideas that have always been in very, for the few, right? Because not many people are interested in them, and they often are very challenging, and they really request you, or they should request you, to really challenge your perspective on life, on how to live, how to die, all these things, right? Well, I think that one of one of the takeaway that many people, especially many newcomers to the to culture, got is that we were finally finding the others, right? This find the others is this famous phrase uh, that I don't remember exactly who said it. I don't remember if it was Timothy Leary or Robert Anton Wilson, Terence McKenna, one of them, or maybe even all together. But in general, it's this idea of finding the others is a very powerful slogan, is a very powerful concept to hold on to, because especially if you have very unique and uh, unique ideas that differentiate you from the masses, you want to find the similar so you can share those unique ideas with people similar to you, right? This is a very it's a very common aspiration to all of us of the human race. It's There's nothing bad about it, in fact. At the same time, I really think that this concept of finding the others has been monetized, of course, and has been used in order to help the ongoing I say bastardization of anything that's an occult afflatus, an occult tendency, a tendency to discover the secret mysteries of nature and science, to use a Masonic phrase, and this has been monetized to the point that a lot of people have lost perspective on what is really important. For I can see here somebody's saying that seeking community is wholly human. There's need for connection and whatnot. That's absolutely true. However, I do strongly insist on the fact that the alchemical transformation that is at the core of the occult and paranormal and initiatic experience is to try and refine and maybe even start to leave behind those wholly human things that make us. Possibly also the need for community. Okay. Especially when this needs of community for community gets monetized and gets showed in your face as the only way to go in order to be part of a functioning community, a functional online community. Where I'm going with this? Well, let me tell you, like, my three predictions for 2024, right? And let's say we will see, maybe in 1 year's time, we'll come back here and we'll say, you know what, you were wrong on all of them, or maybe you were right on one of them, or you were wrong. I think I know, we'll see. But I will ask you, all of you, if you can maybe remember me in 1 year to check if I got anything right at all. So number one, I think we will finally realize that there is no more one size fits all for a culture. This has been really, this is the idea that has been monetized, right? This is the idea that occult influencers, which is a category that just exploded over the last year. I'm thinking about I don't even know if witch talk is still a thing, but it used to be a big thing over the last few years. And or even remember occult Twitter before Twitter completely collapsed. That was another big thing, right? And the idea was like we were all coming together in this one space, we were sharing, and we all had to be the same, right? Because if you were not part of the same size, then you would be seen as a problem. Okay, I think we will finally realize in 2024 that this is absolutely insane, for especially if you're interested in the occult, especially if you're interested in spiritual evolution. There is no one size fits all in spiritual evolution. There cannot be one size fits all in spiritual evolution, because we are all different. We all have our different ways towards the divine, the Godhead, whatever you want to call it for that. In Thelemic terms, I would say, towards the aspiration towards the holy guardian angel, but you will have your own terms according to your own practice, right? The problem is that when this, one size fits all things collapses, well, it also becomes a lot more difficult to use the internet the way we've been using it. You already noticed, I'm pretty sure you already did, that It's way more difficult right now to find new online content. Has YouTube doesn't serve me online. Sorry, occult content anymore. Used to serve me, every sort of pseudo witch talk video. All the algorithm on Twitter used to serve me stuff like that. It's all gone because a lot of people have already been realizing this and moving away from this one size fits all community, that bubble that we lived in the last few years. um, I think that there will be some those who have established themselves and have been producing quality content. They will stay, but there will be less and less and less and less content than you have seen in the last few years. Okay, I'm thinking, for instance, like Dr. Justin Sledge, Dr. Angela Puka. They're doing amazing work for presenting YouTube with quality academic content on the occult. And you can argue that Justin maybe has a more historical and historical slant to it, whereby Angela is she's more interested in practical magic, right, or witchcraft or whatnot. But the thing is that we will not need another Justin, another Angela. We already have them. They will continue doing that. They have established um, their basis, and that's what we will need. I mean, we will still consume and enjoy their content, but we will not have a million trillion other YouTubers or TikTokers and whatnot presenting more of the same. This is also going to generate, in general, um, less algorithmic magic. Okay, and so in general, you'll just start to see less and less and less occult content in general. This is what I'm talking about. We'll get to less online interaction. uh, this might become, you might think that you don't like this, especially if you are going to if you live in a place where you have no other ways of connecting with like-minded people. This will be difficult, right? This is not going to be fun. This might be the point where I suggest you, for instance, to, if you have been able to to identify which community you belong to, which are the things that you like the most, and if there is in that community somebody who became an aggregator, somebody who's been creating, um, became a bit of, say, like the center of a little solar system, if you want. I would suggest this is the time for you to pick and choose, because again, if you don't live in a big city, but even if you live in a big city, if that big city is not London, and that's pretty much about it, that's, you're really not going to have a lot of choices for, to go out and meet people that are interested in magic and Thelema, in Rosicrucianism, etc. Okay, um, I'm thinking about it. For instance, somebody who's been doing fantastic job in creating a community is Greg. They are Greg and Dana Newkirk. They've been creating an incredibly self-sustained community for those who are interested in the woo, right, in the paranormal, in ufology, in cryptids, in everything that, in magic as well, because of course they are very interested in magic as well. So this might be the time where you can, okay, if you feel like you crave community, and if you feel like you're not going to, you haven't found your own spot yet, I guess 2024 will be the time where you kind of need to make a choice, because everything else is going to disappear. This is my prediction, right? Like, as everybody realizes that we cannot share, I mean, maybe I have nothing to do, I have nothing in common with witches, right? Especially the way, baby witches, which is a terrible term, but you know what I mean, right? They've been presented online. I have nothing to do with them, they have nothing to do with me. For years we were forced by by the situation, but also by the algorithmic kerfuffles, to share the same space. That's gonna change. We're not gonna have that anymore. I think that's gonna go, and in general, this will lead to less online interaction. We've seen this happen in Twitter already. The moment Twitter became X, and it became pretty much like 4chan, right? Mainstream 4chan, it's gone. Like, there used to be a huge one size fits all community over there. It's all gone. Maybe for the best, Because if I think about, what online Twitter gave us, I'm thinking about the e-girl that turned Nazi. I'm thinking of, I don't know, the doomster Tasmanian hobbit that keeps, blurting out nonsense on Great Reset and anti-vax non bullshit. I'm thinking about all the conspiracy theorists that the online Twitter gave us. Maybe it's great that we don't have them anymore. It's good that we're leaving them behind, right? So once again, this is what I think is going to happen as point number 2. Let's online interaction. So again, if you live in a place where you're not, you cannot get out of the witch closet, right? Because maybe you live in a very conservative or close-minded big bigot area. This is the time where you might have to find your own community, and there are community. Like I said, I'm thinking about Greg and Dana Newkirk's. I'm thinking about Damien Eccles with his magnum opus. I'm thinking about I would say about like the Justin Sledge, Angela Puca's Patreon, my community as well. Even if I fully realize that I do something incredibly specific, and what I do doesn't really have a huge appeal, because I'm interested in non-orthodox Thelema. So the people that are interested in their Crowley fanboys, they don't like me. Most of them belong to the OTO. The OTO has been harassing me for the last 5 years, so they don't like me. And I do something very specific. So maybe if that's your thing, you're more than welcome to join us. But in general, I think this is the time where you have to figure out which is your tribe, which is your size, and find it. Because again, I don't think past 2024 we will have online culture as we had it in the last 5 years. This has been a bubble. Okay, we never really had anything like this before, and I don't think we're going to have anything exactly like this ever again. Okay, maybe I don't know ever again. Maybe I'm too stupid to say so. Let's say not in my lifetime. I'm 45 now. Let's say I'm gonna live to 90. I think I'm gonna bet on another 45 years without that bubble. Maybe for the best, because I guess it's obvious to understand that we had that bubble also because of the lockdown years, and that's not good. Okay, so final prediction. Now, point number 3 is going to be more focused on specific paths. Okay, I think this is particularly true if you are actually interested in magic. Okay, I'm not going to really spend time, for instance, doing classes or courses or even live streams on things that don't directly interest me. In the past, I did. In the past, when I was doing, especially the early live streams on YouTube, there were a little bit of everything, right? Discussing magic in general. But I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to be focusing on Thelema, especially because in 2024 is going to be 120 years from the reception of the Book of the Law. There's going to be a lot of things happening next year, and that will be my focus. I think that's also going to be the focus for many other magicians who ended up being at the forefront, became like under the spotlight, let's put it like that. So once again, I think that maybe we will see the end of the overall interest in the paranormal. Okay, because that is too big, it's too broad a church, right? It's just too big. There's a little bit of everything in that. So unless again, as I said before, unless you found a specific community that caters to that broad stroke, right, you won't find more of that. And so there will be, I guess we start seeing this already, especially in magic. So again, if you're not particularly familiar with whatever happens in magic circles, you'll see that, for instance, we're just not trying to pretend that Solomonic magicians, grimoire magicians, have much to do with Helamites, right? Because we really don't agree on certain things, and we really shouldn't try to agree on certain things and try to pretend that we see the world in the same way. We don't. That doesn't mean that, of course, I will not stop suggesting the work of Jake Stratton Kent or Aaron Leach if you're interested in those things. I mean, they're but masters on what they do. So of course Jake, passed this year, but in general, like his material is the best you can get. But my point is that like we won't see people trying to convince each other that we all belong to the same community, because we don't. Okay. Once again, and I'm going to wrap this up because I've been really rambling as usual. What we went through, it was a bubble in time. We won't have that again, and that's okay. So in conclusion, I really think that we're going back to how things were. Usually when you see that phrase, in general, is always seen under bad light, right? uh, in this case, I think that we're going to have a positive outcome of this, right? Because once again, if you've been following online culture and you've been seeing all the drama that has unfolded over the last few years, this was really because people were trying to like cram themselves in one single room, whereby there's always been many rooms. We all should be in different rooms. Now, this also means another thing, though. If you've seen what I posted, what I wrote on Substack in recent weeks. By the way, I started a Substack. It's going very well. I'm gonna basically, I think I'm gonna keep like blogging over there. So if you're curious about that, once again, my website, you'll find it. But in general, what I think is that part of this going back to things how they were, and part of all of us going being in back being in different rooms that might have some overlap but not much. It's also the fact that we're seeing how there's a huge resurgence of far right wing esotericism. There's been this huge upheaval about the fact of Inner Tradition publishing a deluxe edition of Ebola's Ur group workings. And of course, the usual replying is being from Inner Tradition has been quite pathetic, to be fair. Always crying about woke culture, censorship. Nobody's censoring them. They've been publishing Ebola for 40 years. The point is different. The point is that they are enabling far right wing philosophies and authors as well. We don't have to be in the same room with them. We don't have to buy their things. And the counterpoint to that is that they will be able, once again, as it always was before, to aggregate together and share their pretty much revolting ideas to their own little rooms, right? This is the sad counterpoint of whatever's going to happen, right? But again, there's no way around it. It's how things. I really strongly believe that this is how things are supposed to be, as opposed of this very unique, strange melting pot that really didn't work very well. That we've been experiencing since 2018. That was been pretty much the year that I've been looking at. But this is these are my predictions for 2024. So long story short, I really think that this is going to be the year where online culture is going to change drastically, if not maybe disappearing. Okay. But this doesn't mean that your favorite authors, YouTubers, content creator, if you want to use that term that I hate, they're not going to disappear. They're just gonna you're gonna have to make a little bit more effort to find them, and possibly accept that free content, it's also going to disappear. Because unless these people, and I'm talking for myself, I'm one of them, have established a strong following on places like YouTube. um, these social media platforms are not paying us at all, right? In fact, like we're using their infrastructure to put our face on top, but that's about it, and it's just not sustainable. Okay. Let me see what else is there. I can see. I'm seeing something in the chat. Less Saturnian, more Aquarian times are coming. I think that's the opposite. I think that we're going to have a lot more Saturn coming up. Um, this the concept of the Aquarian age has been promised for since the 70s. Astrologically, we won't see Aquarius for several centuries, and I really think that we're going to have a lot more Saturn, and that's why we have. That's why I put Saturn in the thumbnail of this live stream over here. So I would suggest you'll brace for impact. In fact, because I should also say, for instance, like next year, it's the year of the Wood Dragon, which is very positive. Chinese zodiac sign, but we're gonna have some interesting, very Saturnian events around July. Maybe I'll do a live stream of this at some point. But there is going to be, yeah. I mean, let's say don't bet on Aquarius, bet on Saturn. There's gonna be more of that, I think. All right. Let me see if I have any questions here. Okay, doesn't seem like I have many questions. Okay, there's one here. Do you believe a liberal lapis lazuli is important? And if so, what are your views on the subject? Could you cover it in a future rumble? As I said, no, I'm not going to do any of this online. I'm Liber lapis lazuli is one of the most important. It's an important holy book of Thelema, right? But the point is that I'm not going to cover in these rambles here. So it might be that at some point I will do um, maybe a class on the holy books of Thelema. This is something that actually I promised to Dr. Justin Sledge, and maybe I'll put together a proper class on on the whole of the holy books of Thelema, explaining their history, how they came together, what they mean to the best of my understanding. But yes, that's is it important? Yes. And am I gonna like talk freely about that? No. Very, very. I hope you'll appreciate my brutal honesty, because I think that's the only way to be. I see that in the chat here, there's a lot of questions about what rules what. If Saturn rules Aquarius, Mercury rules Aquarius, Saturn. That's it. Okay. Thank you, Lawrence. Lawrence is my community's resident astrologer, and he is amazing. So that is the actual answer. And the point being is that when I say that there's a lot more Saturnian themes coming up, is that I think that there's going to be an ongoing theme of restriction before the ongoing theme of relaxation and happiness that a lot of people use to correlate to Aquarius. Okay. Well, thank you. That's my approach as well. I really think that honesty is important, but at the same time, I've been criticized many times for being, for being too Italian, and so some people don't like it. Okay, let me see. Okay, this is interesting. What advice would guide a novice, a rather inexperienced person that is newly embarking on discovering this path, especially when having access to light? Okay, this is a good question. Let me have a little sip of this. So, if you have limited access to like-minded individuals, which, by the way, I should say it's normal. Most people are in your situation. Most people don't have access to mentors that they know in person and that can guide them to what is a very unique, specific, obscure path, right? So first of all, don't feel bad about it. Second, we're still living in times where We have the most books on the subjects being churned out every month. Quality varies, but in general, there's been a lot of decent quality coming out in recent years, right? If you're curious about what that's what, so that would be my first advice. Read, read a lot. Don't think that a YouTube video, even like these live streams I do, they are not going to help you. They, in fact, a lot of the time, a lot of the information you find online, it's bad, and it's also is going to confuse you more than anything else. Read, get good books, and spend a lot of time with them. Read them more than once. Don't expect to understand a magic book, especially if you never had any experience with magic before. Don't expect to read it the first time. Even my book, the Aleister Crowley Manual, which is tailored to the absolute beginners, and it's been almost a year since it came out now. I was saying like last time that I've been rereading it because I've been translating it for the Italian edition. I was hoping that I could fully announce this Italian edition. I cannot yet, but I will soon. But anyway, I'm translating it, and in translating it, since Italian obviously is my mother tongue, I'm actually expanding it because that book, even if it's for the absolute beginner, I realized that some parts are missing. Like I didn't explain myself really well. Most magical books are not for the absolute beginners. So my suggestion is to take your time to read, reread, stay with them, stay with the text. Okay. Once you've done that, that is the time where I suggest you go online and you try to hear the experience of this or that expert online. Again, me, others, and there are many. Okay, if you can't stay away from TikTok, the risk of finding bad information on TikTok is just too high. I'm not saying that there are no good content creators on TikTok. There are, but the risk of finding it's just too risky, right? YouTube is much better. Again, if you're interested in the esoterica and religions, you have Dr. Justice Ledge, Dr. Angelo Puca. You have I don't remember his name, but the other doctor that runs religion for breakfast. You have a lot of very good educators online, but I would still suggest to only get there after you read for a long time. Okay, stay with it because the secrets of magic, you have to think them as something that is secreted from yourself. They are secretions, right? You have to get them out of yourself because I have people coming to me all the time saying, "Hey, I need to know the 9 degree of the O secrets." I was like, "Yeah, you can read this. You won't understand it, but I can tell you where to read, but you won't understand it." And the reality is that everybody always say, "Yeah, I mean, I read that. I didn't understand a single thing. What does it mean?" It's like, I'm not going to tell you. You have to come to that yourself. Famously, Crowley would give the 9 degree to everybody who come to him and say, this is it. And because that was a secret that had been secreted as a secretion from themselves. This is the I would say this is one of the secrets of magic, right? It has to come from yourself, and it can only come from yourself if you spend a lot of time with it. So I hope that's a good advice. I mean, I hope it made sense. Somebody was asking, would you ever consider putting your books on Audible? First of all, I only have one book for now. I might be working on something else, but we'll see when it comes out. But the book is already on Audible. It's amazingly produced. The audiobook is really, really good. And yeah, you can find it on Audible already. Somebody by the way, you can all ask. Somebody is asking, can I have another question? Yes, ask all the questions you want. That's fine. Let me see this one here. What are your general thoughts on 3M Press? I've recently come across their website and have a lot of sold out books. Interesting book I wish I could buy. First of all, you should ask yourself, why would you want to buy books by 3N Press? So, for those of you who don't know, 3N Press is the publishing arm of Daniel Schulke. Daniel Schulke was he is the heir of Andrew Chambly. Andrew Chambly, very famous or infamous magician that died very young in 2004. And he wrote Azoesia, and he wrote the Dragon Book of Essex. Basically, he created what's called cultus sabbati, which is a very strange way of seeing Luciferian witchcraft, sabbatic witchcraft, which, by the way, it's nothing, quote unquote, but Thelema with with a mask of witchcraft on top. So I first of all would like to ask you, what do you find them? What calls to you? I'm telling you this because you wouldn't believe how many people I know that spent so much money on Chambly books, on 3N Press books. They never read it, they never practiced them. Because once again, cultus sabbat is something that, unless you understand what it is, it won't make sense to you. And a lot of people don't have the will or the time to stay with the books, or and then maybe reach out to the modern practitioners of cultus sabbati. So, what are my thoughts? They put out fantastic stuff. They are possibly one of the best publishing houses right now. Like the quality of their books is very high. Um, when it comes to the content, you should ask yourself: is that for you? Do you know what cultus sabbati is? Maybe you should, if you could, you could see if you can source some of the early introductory papers by Andrew Chambly. You can still find them. They were recently, put the internet was kind of scrubbed from them because they were freely available on the internet for a long time, and then it was scrubbed, and then Trian's Press published them. I don't know if they're still in print. But in general, maybe you want to read that first and see if that's for you. Because again, these books go for a lot of money, and from time to time, people just don't read. So long story short, very beautiful books, interesting subjects. If you get it, if you understand what you're reading. Next question. Would you say that this path is for selected ones, or could anyone master, understand, reach, or handle this path? Ha! There's a good one. So, first of all, we should say, let's say this path is initiation, right? Let's call it that. Magical initiation. Magical, mystical initiation. Okay? Let's call it like this, because initiation itself starts magically and then becomes mystical. Is that for everyone? Famously, as a Thelemite, I should tell you that the law is for all. Every man and every woman is a star. My interpretation of those lines are that everyone who is incarnated and everybody who comes to experience this incarnated human life has the potential for this path. Everyone. There is you can be uh, you know smart or stupid, you can be rich or poor, you can be of any gender, of any race, of any ethnicity, anything. You can embark on this path. The last 30 years of me being on this path and looking others being on this path proved me without reasonable doubt, like with the point I am sure about it. Again, it's my truth that very very few will succeed. I'm very Gnostic in this. Famously, Gnostics would see the world, the humanity divided into three categories: the hylics, the physics, and the pneumatics. Now, I'm not so I don't see the word in castes like they did, but I've seen people that maybe they will never attain. Okay, and I will tell you something, that's also fine, because when you understand what the nature of incarnation is, and what is the nature of the self, what is the true nature of what you call yourself, well, you realize that possibly everybody has already attained, because there's only one self that attains. if you have any, if you ever had any exposure to Dzogchen, Tibetan Dzogchen, or Vajrayana Buddhism, it's very similar in the sense that there's only one um, being that experience all of this. In Vajrayana it's called Shiva, and the game of experiencing, of attainment, called the Lila, is the interaction between Shiva and Shakti, and we are only fragments of this interaction, but they have already attained. So, long story short, is everybody has their right, their birthright, to embark on the path. I personally don't think, or rather, I had the proof to the point that at this point in my life, I am absolutely convinced of that not everybody will be able to master and understand or reach or handle the path. But surely everybody can and should try, in fact. Next question. That's a very good question tonight. Thank you. I'd like to see more of Mystic Marco. Join on the retreat. That's what I'm going to do in the France retreat of September 2024. I'm going to be focusing on explaining my vision of Babylon, called Babylon the Black, and I'm going to give empowerments on Babylon the Black. So that's what I'm going to do. Join us in France. Oh, this is a good one. How much of Thelema coordinates with Islam, or is it just a far branch of some Yazidi Ujmahian religion? Is every religion just a hybrid? No, I don't think that every religion is just a hybrid. I don't really believe that. I think that religions are very different from each other. They have different, first of all, different background, social backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and the aim of religions. Different religions are different. Now, Thelema has some aspect. You will find some aspects of Muslim Muslim culture in Thelema, especially in the OTO. And let me think about how can I say this without betraying oaths, even if I'm not a member of OTO anymore and I have no love for them, but I'm thinking about it. Yeah, let's say that, especially in the OTO, you will find some interesting reference to Islam, but that's about it. I also really don't think that the Yazidi have much to do with Thelema. Peter Levenda might disagree with me heavily, and in fact, maybe we'll discuss this in our month together in February. But in general, Thelema really is something that you should understand it as post-Rosicrucianism. Rosicrucianism, you should understand it as mystical Christianity. And Thelema adds a little bit on top, makes a little bit of, brings in a little bit of Egyptian in it. So you find some Egyptian's ideas coming into it, and some, post-Christian, as in Islamic, ideas into it. And but you find a lot of Vajrayana Buddhism, a lot of Tantra in it as well. So in many ways, Thelema is a hybrid, is a syncretic system. I really believe so. But I don't believe that every religion is a hybrid. Absolutely not. There are some very different, some are not that. Let's put it like that. Next question. This is a weird one. Do you believe Babylon is Isis behind the veil? What is Isis behind the veil? I mean, Isis is the point of Isis is that she is behind the veil. That is, that she is veiled. You cannot see her splendor because it would annihilate you. In many ways, this is very similar to the concept of Shekinah in the female hour of God that is hidden in the Ark of the Covenant. In many ways, Isis is similar to that, right? Now, Babylon is complicated, and I have a class on that, right? You can find my class on Babylon on marcovisconti.org. All right, one more. So, follow up to the question before: what perspective would you suggest for one to distinguish this as rising one own awareness? Or would the importance of having mentors enter here? Um, that's about it. Yes, I think that in order for you to understand if you are fit for the path, um, I would suggest that that's where the importance of mentors come into play. Absolutely, that definitely did for me. I have no doubts about it. Without my mentors, the ones in Italy in the 90s, and then Michael Bertio in the 2000s, and then a few others, I would not be here. Right. So mentors play an important role. That's another thing, that I think we're finally going to leave behind, is this delusion that we can do it all ourselves. We can't. You need mentors. The big problem is where to find the right one, how to navigate, potential, problems of various kinds. It's difficult, and it's meant to be difficult. It is hard to find the right mentor, and it's exactly how it's supposed to be. My suggestion, again, we live in time where you can get to know somebody like this, right? Like without having to. Oh, this died. It just died. Let me see if I can actually do this again. Sorry. Okay, fantastic. So yes, like we're living in times where you can have a sample of a potential mentor online. That's a good that could be a way, right? Um, you can sample them from their writings as well. But this is, if properly understood, this is an experiential path. You are supposed at some point to go and meet them, and you're supposed at some point to do things in real world, right? Like, again, this is goes back to what I was saying before. We're leaving behind, the everything can be done online in this broad church where we all belong to a culture. No, we're finally getting to the point where, in order for you to really have experience, to understand if this path is for you, to understand if you're made for this path, you have to at some point get out and get to meet your mentors. It's how it's always been done, and how it will always be done. There's no way about it. Like, you cannot get away from that. um Absolutely. That's absolutely true. There are so many false gurus, and again, it's part of the experience to understand, to develop the discernment necessary to understand who's right and who's wrong and who's right for you. It's part of the experience. I would also say that, again, this is it's not something you should be, even like, you should be scared about it, right? It is what it's how it's done, and that's about it. Sorry if I'm just repeating myself, but I think it's important to. Okay, what we have. Do you and Dr. Justin Sledge plan to collaborate on more film reviews like you did for A Dark Song and Hereditary? Yes, well, we do. We're definitely going to do more of that with Aaron Leach as well, like the trio. It's quite fun, right? It's going to we love to do that, and we're planning to do more. I don't know when. This is, of course, we're all hosted by Justin on his YouTube channel. So I don't know exactly when we're going to do it, but we're definitely going to do that more. I really wanted to do some specific movies. We'll see when we get it, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to announce something in maybe in February already. And sorry, in January already. Let me just have a little sip again. Mm. How would you suggest to develop inner discernment, becoming a good judge of character, so that one might not find it? The same way, I would suggest to do the same with people in your life, right? Learn to listen. Learn to let people talk, and have them telling who they are. People will always tell you who they are. It's how it is. Like, we cannot help ourselves as humans. We always tell who we truly are. You just have to learn to listen. We live in a society, we live in a culture where we're used to talk nonstop. Look what I'm doing here, right? But the reality there is that in if you learn if you learn to be silent and let others explain who they are, you'll be able to discern who's right or not for you. I mean, I'm not saying that there are no predators out there. There are many. I'm not saying that there are not, master manipulators out there. There are many. At the same time, I'm telling you, you are not going to progress unless unless you step out from your comfort zone and you get to meet your mentors and you get to spend time with them. This is I think I want to be very clear about this. This is very important. Like, we're going to finally leave behind the illusion that we can all do this thing online or on books. It's not going to work. So you just have to learn to listen, because people will tell you who they are. They always do. How much of one's outer life would have to be about adapted, in your opinion? For example, being in certain professions that perhaps might be in opposition to this view, would it ever be possible? Good question. I don't think that you can run um, a normal life and be involved in the pursuit of spiritual attainment and evolution. Famously, Kabbalists had to wait to being 40 before even starting their Kabbalistic studies, because they wanted them to have, live the family life, provide for a family, and then, once their children were big, were grown up, then they would go and become Kabbalists. It's kind of the same. I really don't think that if you're really serious about magic, you cannot just use it as it cannot be an afterthought. It has to become a lifestyle. That might be, that means that you might have to change your jobs, right? If you work in a profession that really doesn't look good on you, being a magician, well, you might have to change. Or, like everybody's done before the time of social media, where we're all so open about everything, you're just being silent about it. You just get very private about it. It's difficult, but it's possible. But at the same time, I really believe that there is no way you can live two separate lives, right? Like, if you seriously embark on a path of magical and spiritual attainment and evolution, that is going to be your life. That is going to be your lifestyle. That, especially because, I mean, like, think about, this really ties into all the people that I know, that they want to understand magic intellectually. They want to read more. They want to read the final spell, etc., etc. But they don't want to do the LBRP. They don't want to meditate. They don't want to learn to breathe. That's too boring. It's too boring. So, well, I mean, you're never gonna get anywhere else if you don't do that. Oh, but I don't have time. My kids are screaming in the other room. Yeah, it means that possibly either you find a way for that not to impact you, or you have to wait till your kids are grown up, like the Kabbalists of old. Sorry if that wasn't the the answer you wanted. I have a question, maybe the last one for the night. I have a question, actually a couple more, on Instagram. Hi Marco, what do you think is the relation between one's AGA and Babylon? There is no once AGA. There is the AGA in Thelema. There is the Holy Guardian Angel, and the relation between the Holy Guardian Angel and Babylon is, you can find some glimpses of it in Liber 65, Cordis Cincti Serpente, especially in all the discussions. All the discourse that you find in there between VVVVV and Adonai. Read that, and you might have some ideas about what that is. Okay, but like I said, I do discuss these things on my community. So if you're more curious about that, that's the place to join. Somebody was asking me at the very beginning of this what is that? Let me see if I can find it, of this live stream. Okay, yes. Do you have any predictions on UFO disclosure? Big one, right? I really don't think that we will have disclosure the way people um, expect it to be. I don't think that I mean, because something that I've been trying to I've been trying to discuss this a lot on UFO Twitter when UFO Twitter was a thing. I was following it, not really anymore, and I realized that people would just not listen to that. I think we already had disclosure, right? This we've been living with disclosure for the entire experience of human experience. That is, like, we know, like that, non-human intelligences exist. They, we call them spirits, we call them gods, goddesses, fairies, demons, angels. They are there. That's what they are. So disclosure already happened. It's just that people want the governments to tell them, hey, you know that demons, angels, etc., exist, and you know that maybe they, what you think they are, little spaceships, maybe, or something else. That's exactly what we were going to be discussing in the course with Peter Levenda in February, by the way. So my predictions for UFO disclosure, well, I think that a lot of people in 2024 will be even more disappointed by the fact that the governments won't be able to fully tell them what we already know, that these things are real, and we live with them. We've been living with them our entire life. Whenever you are in a room, you're there. They're there with you, because these are what I used to call them. The way I call them, they're aggregates of consciousness that exist outside space and time, and in n dimensions. So think about it. You're already there with them right now, right here, all over us. So I really don't think that the general masses will be ready for this discussion for a long time. It's occult, it's esoteric for a reason. Um, okay, I have one more question on Instagram. This is a good one. How has this helped your life? Which I think, like, how has this magic helped my life? Um, Magic, and especially Thelema, cured me from fear, and I say that in the most um deep sense possible, especially from the fear of death, which is, I think, one of the biggest catalysts for the human experience. We're born into this life knowing we will die, and knowing that that is the greatest mystery. We will never be able to really fully understand what happens there. Possibly nothing will happen there, and this is all what we have, right? Well, the magic practice, and especially thelemic practices, have cured me of that fear. Like, I know I will die, and I also think I know what will happen next. So I guess that is the biggest the the biggest takeaway from magical from my magical practice ever, being cured by fear completely. I would say that it also made me maybe a little bit more aloof, and a bit less able to experience human connections in the way most people do. But hey, if you win some, you lose some, right? Okay, perfect. Well, I guess that's it. That's it for tonight. Thank you all for being here with me on the final day of 20, well, that's not the final day of 2023, almost, but tomorrow we'll be out drinking and partying. I know I will. My first time I go out drinking and partying since 2018. It's been a while. 2019. It's been a while. So yeah, tonight, thank you all for being here tonight. I know that there's some more questions I haven't been able to get to it. For instance, somebody's asking me last moment what is my opinion on the French Gnostic Church. I should write a book about that. I am a Gnostic bishop. I really think that neo-Gnosticism is interesting, but maybe I'll keep it for another time. Thank you all for being here tonight or today, depending where you are, and I will see you in the next calendar year. I don't know when I'm going to do another one of these ones, but it's been a pleasure. Once again, stay safe and do what the will shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love and the will.